What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Garden Days. Today I'm down here in the garden. I thought we might do some tomato talk. You know, tomatoes, there's probably as many varieties of tomatoes as there are ways to grow them, and the things you should do and the things you shouldn't do. So I'm not going to try to go over everything that there is to know about tomatoes, but I will give you a little bit of information. There's two types of tomatoes. There is determinate and indeterminate. Determinate tomatoes have a predetermined size to them. They're not vine like regular tomatoes, or like indeterminate tomatoes are. With your determinate tomatoes, it's more of the Pace, Heinz, those that are used for sauces, because a determinate tomato, the majority of all the tomatoes will get ripe within maybe a 2-week period. So therefore, they're great for putting up a lot of sauce at one time. Now, your indeterminate tomatoes will grow as long as they are healthy and getting the nutrients that they need and the sun that they need. I think the record's like 65 foot long for a tomato vine over in like UK or something like that. Your indeterminate tomatoes are going to be more like the slicing tomatoes are, or most of the heirloom are indeterminate tomatoes. Now what we have here is I have Delicious, and I'll put pictures of each one of these in here for you. And then I have a big rainbow on this side, and then a Cherokee purple on the other. And then these last 4 tomato plants are beefsteak. The growing these tomatoes started way before I even started the seed, because I had to prep the bed with nutrients, with good rich soil, with calcium. Like I said, there's about as many ways to grow them as it is varieties of tomatoes. What I do, and the reason I do what I do, is at the bottom of them, as you can see, I'll cut off all the way up to the first set of blooms. And the reason I do this is to ward off disease. And disease comes from being wet, not getting good airflow, staying moist. You'll end up with blight. So I end up trimming them up quite a ways. Now, even though these are indeterminate tomatoes, I still trim back to where I have maybe 1 to maybe 2 shafts, 2 tomato plants, I guess you could say. I don't pull off all the suckers, even though some people do, and that's fine. That's fine. You're more than welcome to pull off all the suckers you want. But I just don't do that. The airflow at the bottom will help increase or decrease like blight, powdery mildew, things of those nature. And I'll even go through the plant itself and trim off some of the big leaves just to increase the airflow. I mean, the leaves are important, yes, but they need to be able to breathe also. And because I keep them on the one string, I feel like they don't get enough air as they would if I just let them spread on the ground. My son and I built this trellis last year for our tomatoes, and it worked good in principle, but what I didn't like is I was using jute yarn or fodder twine or whatever you want to call it, and the weight of the tomatoes kept breaking the string. So there was a couple of times where a 6 or 7 foot tomato plant would be laying on the ground. So this year I went with a stronger string, I hope. We'll have to see. There's something else that's really neat about tomatoes. Tomatoes can be buried almost all the way to the top when they're brand new plants, and they can still do it now even at this age. I don't know if I can get in here tight enough to where y'all see the little bitty hairs that are on these tomatoes. Every one of those is waiting for a piece of dirt so it can start to root. If you've ever planted some tomatoes in the spring and one of them just didn't make it for some reason, well, here's an idea that you could do to give you extra plants. You can propagate them off of what you have already. You come in here to a sucker, clip it off, and then if you bury it, I don't know if you can see all the fuzz on it, but if you bury it in the ground, it will actually take root and start to grow another tomato plant. So if you ever find yourself short on tomato plants, you can always propagate them. I'm gonna dig a little hole here. And I'm gonna put this tomato in it. Now tonight I'll come down here and give it a drink since it's all by itself now. And hopefully in a few weeks we'll be able to follow up and see that it grew into a tomato plant. Tomatoes are also self-pollinating, and if you can see right here, you see how the flowers or the blooms are angled down? Just the simple wind itself will pollinate the flower. Now, of course, it's great to have bees and everything to make sure it happens, but tomatoes can self-pollinate. Got quite a few blooms on them. I'm getting excited about having our crop. I can't wait to have a good garden tomato this summer. You know, tomatoes are the #1 plant grown by backyard hobbyists, by gardeners, by farmers. It's just, everyone loves a good tomato during the summer. You know, a garden this size, it's not so much for food security, but it's as much for food security as it is mental health. To tell the truth, I get a lot of enjoyment out of just hanging out down here. I'm gonna close with a thought for you that, you know, we can plant the seed, we can water it, we can weed it, we can put it right in the direct sun, we can give it the fertilizer that it needs, but only God can make it grow. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Please, if you can subscribe and hit like, and give me a comment or two if I'm something I need to improve on, something I'm new at this. So if there's something I need to improve on or get a better message across, please let me know. I'm interested to find out what you all think. Once again, thanks, and God bless.